What I want to see when we reach Sumeru, expectations and speculations. First of all, disclaimer. This is not a wholesome theory but a mess of imagination and expectations based on what we were teased with, by now. I love making theories but I won't go wild with these, and I may or may not include more of these small bites to my channel in the future, if I ever find the time for it. There is so much I must have not read in the game, and I am probably missing something, but still I have my own angle of enjoying the game, so why not sharing some thoughts? Let's go. To begin with, the regions of Teyvat feel a bit weird to me since the very beginning. Like Mondstadt is heavy based on Germany, but is it? Since the very beginning we have the idea of what real countries Teyvat's countries are based on, but to me it is a bit weird that half of the population in Mondstadt actually has not only straightforward recognizable German names, but British and French. And there we have Fontaine to go, and it is said to be based on France. It's actually safe to assume that each region is based on more than just one country. And there we have Sumeru, that is going to be large between the inspiration of India, Persia and Egypt. That is huge. And there are so many things we could expect. Being the land of the Dendro Archon, Sumeru must be rather green, but then it is said to have deserts too, and the character presented to us on the trivial trailer, Sino, is obviously representing Egypt and inspired by the image of Anubis. How does this relate to Dendro then? With the release of Enkanomiya we met an ancient and long-gone civilization that still have its descendants in Teyvat is Sangonomiya. Therefore I strongly believe that Egypt-inspired land is going to be part of Sumeru in similar way, a lost land. Which ruins can be still found, underground, and share similar aesthetics to the other ruins all round Teyvat. And Sino would be somehow related to this civilization, carrying some ancient knowledge. In the manga we see him performing, let's call it art of magic, that seals away Collie's Archon residue. Which makes his type of exercising, I guess, and deepens the already deep concept of purifying this world by rituals, secret rituals. With all this said, I believe that if we get a part of Sumeru related to Egypt, it might be also underground, entirely or halfway. Saying this because I do expect underground labyrinths in Sumeru. Maybe not pyramids unless underground ones. That would be cool. But let's talk about some mechanics I'd love to struggle with too. Like dehydration, similar to the sheer cold in Dragonspine. If there is desert in Sumeru or wherever on the future map they decide to add it. It'd be cool to have a region where we'd need to run through the mirages and find an oasis to save ourselves from the heat. Which also leads to the next mechanics, mirages. These keywords are teased in the trivial trailer, so I'd really expect to actually see them recreated as game mechanics. We already had something similar with the fog on Surumi Island, which is so cool, and I wish the developers would make the mist a weather condition that would occur from time to time like the rain. Mirages could work in similar way when we'd run through the desert only to see the oasis disappearing right before we reach it. Therefore we'd need some guidance too, by Sealies for example. Which also leads me to the next thing I wish it had happened to me while running through the desert in Teyvat, quicksand traps. That would be extremely funny, and we already saw similar mechanics in the sea whirlpools, so why not? And some of these might actually lead us to the underground labyrinths of Egypt. Sandstorms could be a thing too, but maybe to some story quest rather as something that'd occur daily. MiHoYo already showed that the weather in Teyvat is not what we would expect it to be, and the reason for why we don't get seasons is not because of they can't patch the game, and all of these maps. But because if there is a change in the weather in Teyvat, this is caused by some ley line disorder. which makes sense in the line of theory where Teyvat is stuck in a time loop or created by some principles of being a heaven. But this is another theory. Here I'd add cities in the desert, hidden under the surface and therefore seeming invisible from distance, part of the mirage concept. But before the desert we are probably going to meet the rainforest first. And the grass should be taller than usual, haha. I personally can't wait for Sumeru and for the revival of the topic that is now put aside with all of the lore we get after 2.0. And that is the samsara, the cycle of life and rebirth, or rather life, destruction and rebirth. Or, rebirth and reincarnation. Because of this I also thought, at one point, that Sumeru might actually have seasons, since India is known for rain season. And Sumeru element is all about rebirth, growing. Therefore I thought that Sumeru could have been a desert that would flourish with the rain. But I doubt we'd get this. We'd rather get part of Sumeru that is stuck with the rain due to ley line disorder and another part that would be eternal desert. Which also makes sense in line with time theories, but let's not stray too far from the expectations analysis now. I wanted to talk more about game mechanics rather than theorizing. With that said, let's give a thought of the elemental reactions with the nature of Teyvat that we experience. The most mysterious one is the grass burning, but the most common one is to get wet in the rain. However, in Dragonspine we don't get affected by cryo but by the sheer cold. Which effectively means that using hydro won't freeze us, unless we are attacked by enemies who apply cryo. But still, it's dangerous for hydro there. Equip any amber with you. So if we get any desert in Sumeru, it'd most likely drain life from us rather to apply pyro. However, the rainforest might be different. Imagine, with the rain starting, or rather after the rain specifically on the map, there could be botanical traps to appear, to put it simply, vines. And would need to burn them every time because they'd lock some paths away. Other possible way of adding weird mechanics is the plants around applied dendro, which is believed to be a support element to drain life and to increase elemental reactions. And with this, a walk in the forest should not be a breeze. Of course these are speculations for certain areas only. With Inazuma Mihoyo presented to us how each island could be so much different than the rest. We also have the Electro Water, where we also lose HP rapidly, so I'd expect such dangerous places all over Sumeru too, and I can't wait. On the bright side, we'd probably get many flowers, since the different religious in India use so many flowers, colors, in their rituals. I expect beautiful gardens too. And also snakes in the grass. And so many new recipes, haha. I'd need a second backpack, if not a second stomach, for this, haha. But to the flowers, we already have the plants, pieces of land for our teapot. But these might be actually a mechanic somewhere in Sumeru too, or at least for a quest. As of my personal expectations here, I wish to see a local Kwawa tree based on pomegranate. So far we have apple tree, sunsetia and the lavender melon of the Kwawa type. Pomegranate would be nice addition, fitting to the region of Sumeru. And an explosion of colors whatever Mihoyo decide to do with the story quest there. They'd probably surprise us, but also so many theories about the Dendro Archon's identity are already circulating, so for sure someone is going to get it right, partly. To me it'd be a waste if the idea about Kusanali is not based on the rebirth, reincarnation. In a way I wish to see exactly this, reincarnation and a way of regaining the memory of the Dendro Archon. Much like our traveler is having a journey to find the truth about the world and the destiny, what if this happened to the Dendro Archon too? The other very viral idea is if the Dendro Archon is like Mobius aging reversed. I am not sure exactly how this would fit the story, but it'd be cool to happen. I lean more to bet on the idea of reincarnation though, since we already saw this concept applied to Guoba. I still haven't done the latest quest for the Raiden boss, and my Yae Miko is going to have to wait for her talent materials. Sorry Chief Editor, but I'd hope I gives us some intel about Raiden Makoto and if she too is not really dead but sealed. And what is the sealing but preventing something to return into the cycle of energy of Teyvat? Lastly, about the divine ideal of wisdom that is now equivalent to knowledge. We have this duality for each archon and ideal now. Freedom is good but also bad in the meaning of having no protection but protecting yourself. Venti has put his thought in leading his people to the state where they fought for their freedom, and hopefully they'd not forget to cherish it. In Inazuma, people rather live with the original idea of the eternity of the moment, while Ei alone was locked in her never-changing eternity. And in Liyue rule the ideal of the contract. The loyalty and the obligation to the own word. The wisdom and the push for folly are intertwined like expectation and reality. So maybe we shouldn't get our expectations too high, haha. I was thinking though, isn't the foolish seeking of wisdom the soil for the actual wisdom to grow? Or, as suggested by the theorists, the whole academia matters could be a way to keep people's curiosity away from dangerous facts while suggesting them to investigate trivial matters. And mentioning trivial, I think of the trailer again and how the books are going to be a huge part of Sumeru. There we should access more writings of and from the old world. Unless for some reason the whole academia is not based entirely on newly collected books. Or in other words, if the obsession with writing thesis and collecting knowledge started recently. Meaning after the cataclysm, or it has always been part of the culture. I have watched enough Bollywood productions to know how Indish movies present the knowledge. And let's be honest, it looks weird how in these series they judge the knowledge from being in awe by someone knowing few words in English to getting deep into interpreting every myth they have to their current life situations, so they'd pull wisdom of it, and it is all for show. It's kind of how Sumeru feels too. The knowledge of something new, of some piece of science, makes people travel all over Teyvat to collect information, yet they don't really use the wisdom to understand this world. And the traveler is probably going to be the catalyst for new way of finding new wisdom. Our experience with the 3 archons we met so far is also interesting in that matter, or changing. We didn't really change Venti's way or choice. Probably because we resonate with the concept of freedom most, and it was a great way to start the game. We don't really change anything about Liyue either, nor we prevent things to happen. Zhongli had already taken a decision about it, and both Liyue and Mondstadt seem already under the control of the people. In Inazuma, however, the traveler really fights to change Ai's perspective to the world. And from the teasing about Kusanali, the situation in Sumeru should be quite similar to this in Inazuma. We'd probably witness a great change in the course of the seeking for wisdom there. In a way, they'd start using what they had collected for more spiritual than practical purposes. Lastly, I suspect that Fatui have way more influence in Sumeru than in any other country. If not even rolling in from the shadows actively. But that is pure speculations. Maybe they are waiting for the moment to steal the gnosis of the Dendro Archon when she is revealed. Maybe the whole collection work the people from the academia do is actually important, for there are shadows behind who'd know when something of actual value is finally found. Some special book, for example. Some secret. Therefore again maybe the researchers from Sumeru don't just look aimlessly around but are part of someone's plan, and the agricultural science of Sumeru is meant to revive some lost knowledge. To reach what it lost by getting to learn it all over again, to recreate it. And with this I finally wrote a wholesome, speculation, theory video. And all it remains is to read it over on a mic. Oh, I just did. We are done then. Bye.